Good morning and welcome, children, in today's English classroom. For class 12, I have taken up one lesson from the Vistas, the supplementary reader. The name of the lesson is The Enemy, the author Pearl S. Buck. Now we'll see the enemy, as the name suggests, the enemy. Who are the enemies here, or who are in fight or in conflict with one another? Actually, the setting of the story is on the backdrop of Second World War. As we know, during the Second World War, Allied forces and Axis forces were, two forces which were who were in fight, isn't it? Now, Japan and America used to represent two different groups and they were in fight. Now we'll see that these two country where these two country in fight, or the people who are in the battlefield they were fighting, or the sentiment of the countries of Japan and America were also related with that. So in a sense, this is also reflected or symbolized the after effect of war. Okay, but the most important thing, we'll get one character here, Dr. Sadao, who was a doctor by profession. Okay, now his love for the country, his patriotism, and his ethical means a professional ethic came on the way. He was in a dilemma, which one to be chose. Okay, to be chosen, and finally what he did, that we'll see. But before that, first we'll have a look about the author. Know your author. Born on June 26, 1892 in West Virginia. The awards, she got the award in 1932, won the Pulitzer Prize. Okay, in 1938 won the Nobel Prize in Literature, the first American woman to do so. By the time of her death in 1973, Pearl published over 70 books, different novels, collections of stories, biography and autobiography, and many other poetry even. Now we'll see the overview of the story. Okay, and I forgot to tell you actually. I have divided into this lesson as usual into 3-4 different parts. Okay, so today we'll get the the storyline. Okay, and then after we'll analyze later on with reference to the text in my other classes. Yeah, so the first character, Dr. Sadao Hockey's childhood. We'll get first about that. Climbed pines, watched islands, played along the coast. Okay, stone house located up on the rocks, well above the narrow beach. So this was his childhood experiences or memories. Education at 22 years, went to America and returned after 8 years, became a surgeon and scientist. And not only became a surgeon and scientist, but he was a scientist and surgeon of world repute, very famous. Now, presently, army at war, but Sadao not sent to war. Okay. Now, what's the reason? General might need General Takima. We'll get that later on. Might need his help. Okay. Was perfecting a discovery that would render wounds entirely clean. Okay. He was busy in one experiment. Okay, one discovery, you can see, of some medicine which will help to keep the wounds clean. And second reason is that General Takima might need his help because he was ill actually. Now his wife Hana. Okay, Dr. Sadao's wife, he was pleasant, affectionate, caring. Sadao met Hana at Professor Hurley's house in America during his his stay in America. Married her in Japan in traditional way, of course. Now, challenges that he faced. Okay, misty nights, staggering body appeared, wounded and collapsed. Now, one day they found that one staggering body in the misty night were coming towards them. Their house was on the beach near the coast. Okay, the coastal line. So suddenly they saw who was that man, a white man, American, an enemy. Now, why enemy? Because America was in war with Japan during the Second World War. Sadao and Hana carried him to Sadao's father's bedroom. Washed by Hana because Yumi refused. Yumi was their servant. Okay, she refused to do that. Operated by Sadao, Hana held the anesthetic. Now bullet removed from near the kidney of that white man, the American man. Life saved. Prisoner feeble and weak. The prison was feeble and weak. Definitely after the operation. Now prisoner fed and rested to recovery, but was anxious for his future. Now we'll try to see an image, a presentation of the storyline. First we'll try to understand the storyline, and then after we'll proceed for further analysis of the story. Yeah, now the enemy. First scene what we'll see today's topic, this is The Enemy by Pearl S. Buck. Yeah, you can see this one. Dr. Sadao Hoki's house was a solitary house on the Japanese coast where as a little boy he had often played. Next, his father was a true patriot and had taken him often to the islands of these seas. These islands are the stepping stones to the future for Japan. That's why what Dr. Sadao's father used to tell him. Now, Dr. Sadao's education was his father's chief concern, so he was sent to America to learn surgery and medicine from Japan to USA. Now, Sadao met Hana, who was also Japanese, in America. They came back to Japan and married in old Japanese way, in traditional Japanese way. Yeah, next, Sadao had 2 children. While most of the doctors were sent to serve the Japanese army in World War II, Sadao was allowed to stay at home because he was wanted by old General Takima, I already told you, who was dying, who had some problem or might need the operation. That's why it might need the help of Dr. Sadao. And another reason was there because he was busy in one invention of finding some medicine which will help, keep the wounds clean. Yeah. Now one day as they came across one American army staggering towards them, he was wounded. That's what we'll see. He was a prisoner of war. That's why he is wounded. Now Hana said, a white man from US Navy and he is bleeding. Now the thing is that they thought of throwing him back into the sea, but they could not do so. Sadao carried him home. This is what that we must have to think, because here on the one hand his love for country, his patriotism, because as a Japanese he had the duty to love his country and to serve his country by not helping any American soldier, because they were in fight with Japan. Americans were their enemy, isn't it, at that time during the Second World War. But on the way, his professional ethics, his profession comes on his way, his duty as a human. What was his duty? To serve, to save any person that comes on his way. So that's why they thought of throwing him back first, but his conscience came on his way and into the sea, but they could not do so. Sadao carried him home. Hana and Sadao nursed the American. His wounds healed and he gained strength. Slowly, that after treatment and everything, American soldier was coming to a sense and he was recovering well. But the servants were becoming restless as they had strong repulsion for the Americans. So they left Sadao's house and Hana paid them their wages. You can see those servants very much repulsive and emotional, and they were thinking that why should we help an American? Why should we serve an American? Why should we treat an American? Ultimately, after all, he was their enemy. But Dr. Sadao and his wife was thinking in a different way. Why? Because they were conscious, they were educated, and they were very much, they were conscious about their duties, and that's why they thought that, after though they were citizen of Japan, ultimately they were Japanese, but still they had some duty towards the humanity. Okay, now what happened? See, the general was in pain, so he called Sadao for his treatment. Sadao told him about the American, and the general suggested to help him because Sadao could not be arrested. Now see, he had that fear actually. What will happen if general come to know that he had, sheltered one American soldier had sheltered and he was treating him well. But the general said what? Suddenly what happened? That he became means ill and he needed the treatment of Dr. Sadao. He called for Dr. Sadao, and Dr. Sadao, after going there, he told everything, that one American soldier is there at his home and he was taking care of him. But the general stated, see, the selfish nature of the general is expressed here, isn't it? He wanted to keep Dr. Sadao for his treatment and said that you cannot be arrested. Now, moreover, he suggested one plan. What was that plan? But Dr. Sada was very much worried and tormented that what will happen to his family members if they are being termed as the traitor, because they have sheltered one American soldier who was the enemy. Okay. Now, what did the general suggested? We'll see. We'll see that. I have my own private assassins. I will send them to your house any night to kill that American. He said that I have my own private assassin. I will send them to your house any night to kill that American. Okay. Now, Dr. Sadao also at that time, as he was confused, he said that perhaps would be that best, because he was in a dilemma what is to be done, because he was thinking about their small children also, because they also will be called the offspring or the son and daughter of the traitor if they have been caught. Yes. Now Sadao waited for 3 nights for the assassins, but no assassins arrived. Sadao was tired of waiting, so he decided to help the American to escape. Now see, 3 nights he waited, but though he agreed with the general that assassin should come and to kill him or to take that American soldier, but within he was really in a dilemma. Okay, and he was tormented that whether he was doing the right thing by deciding so. 3 nights he waited, and finally what he did, okay, that now he decided to help the American to escape. Now we'll see that Sadao provided him with his boat and put water and quilts in it. Sadao also gave him his flashlight. Okay, all this required these gadgets he had given, this essentials like water, then quilt, okay, and flashlights also given so that he can give the signal from that island whether he is safe or not. Yeah. Now Sadao told him to sail to an uninhabited island very close to the shore. There he could live till he found a Korean fishing boat pass by the island. So he said that you can stay in that uninhabited island. No one inhabits there or stays there. So you can stay there till any Korean fishing boat that used to pass through that island they come, and you may live safely. In this way he allowed him to go. Now next, what happened? Now Sadao was called by the general to operate on him. Sadao told him about the Americans' escape. Okay, when he was in real trouble, General Tekima, he called Sadao for the operation, and now he told him about everything, that how he helped him to escape. Now see how irresponsible this man was, this general. What he stated, his statement: I failed to send the assassins as I was absorbed in my own affairs. Now Dr. Sadao stated, I swear to your loyalty. Yes. So this was, and after that, we'll see that all the servants returned as the American had left, and the things came back to normal in the house of Dr. Sadao. Now, this is what is the storyline. But merely knowing the story is not enough. We need to know the text and some more explanations also. So I will go to the text, little bit of the important part. This is a big long text you have seen. So I would like to request you to go through the text, and I have picked up most important part and I will discuss about that. Okay. Now summary of the first part: lives in a childhood. Dr. Sadao Hoki lives in his childhood home in Japan, nestled between pine trees and small beach when he was a little boy. Now the description given about his childhood. Sadao's father would say, those islands yonder, they are the stepping stones to the future for Japan. Now, analysis of this part. The story opens with the flashback from Sadao's childhood, which immediately establishes his father's Japanese patriotism and belief in Japan's capacity for greatness. Sadao's father also initially appears to be a warm, encouraging father figure, which the story will soon, complicate. Now, summary next part. Growing up, Sadao's father never joked or played with Sadao, but spent infinite pains upon him who was his only son. Dr. Sadao's chief concern was his son's education. Okay, and that's why when we'll see in analysis parts, Sadao's father immediately transforms from a seemingly warm, compassionate father encouraging his son to reach for greatness to a cold, harsh man who pushes his son to the best. The fact that Sadao's education is his father's chief concern, also points to the story's preoccupation with duty. So this much we have done. Next we'll see next part of the story. Now Sada and Hana. Now after that, talking about his childhood, next he went to America, and we'll see that there he met Hana. Indeed, so Sadao and Hana met at their college professor's house. The kindly professor and his wife had been anxious to do something for their new foreign students and invited them over. Sadao had almost skipped the gathering. The professor's house was small, the food was bad, and the professor's wife was too chatty, talks too much. He had gone anyways, although in this way analysis part we'll see the college professor is one of many American characters that Sadao reflects upon ambivalently. The professor seems kind and well intentioned in wanting to make his international students feel accepted, but Sadao meets his kindness with sharp criticism of the professor's house, food, wife, revealing Sadao's own arrogance. Now we'll see the next part in the active theme. What we find next, although they had talked everything over beforehand, Sadao and Hana waited to marry until they had both finished school, returned to Japan, and ensured that Sadao's father could arrange the marriage according to the whole Japanese way. This is very important, isn't it? He waited, Dr. Sadao loved his father very much, respected his father very much, and that's why before marriage also he confirmed the matter that his father liked that and his father allowed that. Okay, now we'll see the next part, active themes. Back in the present, Sadao and Hana suddenly noticed something black in the mist, isn't it? So we'll see that the story starts from here. We'll see that they were sitting there on their in their house, from where they could see the sea beach covered with mist, and from there something black they could notice. And what was that actually? That was an American soldier, wounded. He was he was coming, seeking for help, isn't it? So analyze, if you see, the man later revealed as a white American man. His name was Tom. Is ironically introduced her as something black, even though his whiteness is the crux of the identity of the reason he is deemed an enemy. Meanwhile, Hannah and Sadao's impulse to run and help the man whom he pointed as assumed to be a Japanese fisherman shows the human impulse to be kind and helpful to others. Now he said what? That at first they thought that it could be as a fisherman, isn't it? But finally they could guess that it was an American soldier who was wounded. At first they also thought about to leave him in the sea, leave him there, throw him in the sea, but as I told you, their professional ethics, their conscience came on their way, and finally they decided to help that American. Now some solved questions are there. I'd like to request you to note down these questions in your copy. I will give 5 more questions as assignment in the assignment section. So we'll go and complete those and send back those assignments to me as soon as possible. Thank you very much.